The notification sound on my phone changed everything. One little ping while I was picking out flowers for my mother's funeral, and suddenly I was staring at my sister's eBay listing for our mother's wedding ring. The same ring I'd been searching the house for all morning. The same ring Mom had promised me since I was 12 years old. The same ring that my sister had sworn she hadn't seen. Vintage 1952 diamond wedding set. Estate sale, no reserve. Posted 3 hours ago. By user BlessedMommy47, my sister Linda's account. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how my sister tried to steal my inheritance while I was grieving our mother's death. And how I made sure she lost everything that mattered to her in return. Before I tell you how I systematically destroyed my sister's perfect suburban life, I need you to understand something about family betrayal. It's not just about what they take from you, it's about what they steal from your memories, your trust, your ability to grieve. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you should have been able to trust completely, hit that like button. If you believe some people deserve exactly what they get, subscribe. Because this story gets darker before it gets better. I need to start with my mother, because none of this makes sense without understanding who she was. Margaret Louise Chun was the strongest woman I've ever known. She immigrated from Taiwan in 1970 with nothing but a nursing degree and the wedding ring my father had given her before he died in Vietnam. She worked double shifts at 3 different hospitals to put both Linda and me through college. She never remarried, never dated, never did anything for herself that wasn't about making sure her daughters had better lives than she did. The ring was her most prized possession. Not because it was expensive, it wasn't. The diamond was small, and the setting was simple. But it represented everything she'd sacrificed for. Every time someone at the hospital called her just a nurse, or every time a landlord tried to cheat her because of her accent, she'd twist that ring and remember that she was someone's beloved wife, someone's proud mother. She used to let me try it on when I was little. My mother would smile as I admired how it looked on my small fingers. "This will be yours someday, Sarah," she'd say in her careful English. "When you find someone who loves you the way your father loved me." Linda was never interested in jewelry, never interested in sentimental things. She was practical, focused on things that had immediate value. Mom knew this about both of us. Linda got married at 23 to Brad, a real estate developer who made good money but couldn't balance a checkbook. They had 2 kids right away and bought a house they couldn't afford in the best school district. Linda quit her job as a dental hygienist to be a stay-at-home mom, which was fine until Brad's business started struggling during the 2008 recession. I stayed single longer, focused on my career as a software engineer. I was doing well financially, had my own house, and was dating but not seriously. Mom lived with me the last 2 years of her life after she was diagnosed with emphysema. We'd spend evenings watching old movies and talking about her childhood in Taiwan, about Dad, about the life she'd built in America. She was proud of both her daughters, but I knew I was the one she felt closest to. When Mom's condition got worse last October, Linda started visiting more often. At first, I was grateful. I was working remotely to care for Mom, and having Linda help with doctor's appointments and medication management was a relief. But I started noticing things. Small things at first. Linda would show up when I wasn't home and let herself in with the spare key. She'd spend time alone with Mom, having conversations I wasn't part of. Mom started seeming more tired after these visits, more confused about her medications. When I asked Linda about it, she brushed off my concerns with a wave of her hand. "Someone needs to start thinking practically about what happens next," my sister told me one afternoon in November, her voice taking on that business-like tone she used when she wanted to sound important. "Mom's not going to be around forever, and we need to make sure everything is in order." I didn't like how she said everything, but I was too exhausted from caregiving to argue. Mom was requiring round-the-clock care by then, and I was barely sleeping. I trusted Linda to help, the way sisters are supposed to help each other. Mom died on January 15th, peacefully, in her sleep, in the hospital bed we'd set up in my living room. I was holding her hand. Linda was in the kitchen making coffee. The last thing Mom said to me, her voice barely a whisper, was, "Take care of my ring, Sarah. Don't let anyone tell you it's not important." I thought she was just confused from the pain medication. I had no idea she was trying to warn me. The funeral planning was a nightmare. Linda took charge immediately, which I appreciated because I was barely functional with grief. She made the arrangements, contacted relatives, and organized the service. She seemed to know exactly what needed to be done, had lists and spreadsheets and timelines. You just focus on grieving, she kept telling me whenever I tried to help with arrangements. I'll handle the practical stuff. While Linda handled arrangements, I tried to handle Mom's personal effects. I wanted to find her jewelry box, her important documents, the things that would need to be distributed between us. But I couldn't find the wedding ring anywhere. I searched everywhere. Mom's bedroom, her jewelry box, and the safe deposit box at the bank. Nothing. I asked Linda if she'd seen it. "No, I haven't seen any ring," she said quickly, not quite meeting my eyes. Maybe she lost it? You know how confused she was getting toward the end. That's when I got suspicious. Mom was never confused about her ring. Even when she was barely conscious, she'd twist her finger where it used to be. She'd only stopped wearing it in the hospital because her hands were too swollen. I kept searching. I went through every drawer, every pocket of every piece of clothing, every possible hiding place. I called the hospital to see if it had been left there. Nothing. 3 days later, while I was at the funeral home picking out flowers, my phone buzzed with an eBay notification. I had alerts set up for vintage jewelry because I'd been trying to find a similar ring as a backup, something to remember Mom by if I couldn't find the original. That's when I saw it. Mom's ring. Listed by Bless Mommy 47, with photos taken in what was clearly Linda's dining room. I recognized the tablecloth. The listing description made my stomach turn. Beautiful vintage estate piece from my late mother-in-law. She had excellent taste in jewelry. Starting bid $500, no reserve. Estate sale. All items must go. My mother wasn't Linda's mother-in-law. And this wasn't just any estate piece. This was the ring Mom had promised me since I was 12 years old. I screenshotted everything before calling Linda. "Linda, I found Mom's ring." There was excitement in her voice when she responded. "Oh, thank God. Where was it?" "On your eBay account." The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. When she finally spoke, her voice was shaky. "Sarah, I can explain. You can explain why you're selling our mother's wedding ring 3 days after her funeral? It's not what it looks like. I was just trying to get it appraised. You know how much Brad and I are struggling financially right now, and I thought. You thought you'd steal it and sell it before I notice." Her voice got defensive, taking on that injured tone she'd perfected over the years. "I wasn't stealing anything. Mom gave it to me before she died. She said she wanted me to have it because I have daughters and you don't have kids to pass it down to." The lie was so brazen it took my breath away. Not just because it was false, but because it was calculated to hurt me in the deepest way possible. Linda knew I'd been struggling with fertility issues. She knew how sensitive I was about not having children yet. And she was using that pain to justify stealing from me. "Linda, Mom promised me that ring when I was 12 years old. You know that." Her voice got colder, more dismissive. "People change their minds, Sarah. Maybe you remember it wrong." "I don't remember it wrong. Look, the listing is already up and there are bids. If you want the ring so badly, you can bid on it like everyone else." That's when I knew this wasn't just about the ring. This was about Linda seeing an opportunity to take something valuable while I was too grief-stricken to fight back. This was about her believing I was weak enough to let her get away with it. I hung up and did 2 things. First, I reported the listing to eBay as stolen property. Second, I started thinking about what else Linda might have taken while she was organizing Mom's things. I spent the next week going through every document, every photo, every possession Mom had left behind. What I found made the ring theft look like petty crime. Linda had been busy during those visits while Mom was dying. She'd somehow convinced Mom to sign a new will, one that I'd never seen. In this version, Linda inherited Mom's life insurance policy, her savings account, and her car. I got the house, but only because it was in my name anyway since Mom had been living with me. The timing was suspicious. The will was dated December 10th, just 5 weeks before Mom died, when Mom was heavily medicated and barely lucid most days. but it was notarized and filed properly. Linda had done her homework. But Linda had made one crucial mistake. She'd gotten greedy with the small stuff too. I found pawn shop receipts in Mom's bedroom trash can, receipts for jewelry, collectibles, and silver pieces that I'd been looking for. Items Linda had taken and sold while I was at work and Mom was sleeping. The receipts were in Linda's name. I also found bank statements showing regular cash withdrawals from Mom's account in amounts Mom would never have needed. The withdrawals corresponded exactly with Linda's visits. Linda hadn't just stolen Mom's ring and manipulated her into changing her will. She'd been systematically robbing our dying mother for months. I documented everything, photographed every receipt, every bank statement, every piece of evidence. I made copies of the suspicious will and compared it to Mom's previous will from 2019, the one where everything was split equally between Linda and me. Then I called a lawyer. The lawyer reviewed everything I'd brought with a grim expression. "This looks like elder abuse," he told me after going through all the documents. "Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. If you can prove your mother wasn't competent when she signed this will, and if you can show a pattern of financial manipulation, you might be able to contest it." What would that involve? A court investigation, financial records, medical records, and witness testimony. It would be expensive and time-consuming, and there's no guarantee you'd win. What if I handled this differently? The lawyer looked at me carefully. "What do you mean?" "What if Linda just decided to do the right thing voluntarily?" He leaned back in his chair, choosing his words carefully. "That would certainly be simpler for everyone involved." I thanked the lawyer and went home to plan. Linda's weakness had always been her need to appear perfect. Perfect house, perfect family, perfect life. She managed her image like a full-time job, posting constantly on social media about her wonderful children and her successful husband and their enviable lifestyle. What she'd never posted about was Brad's gambling problem. I'd known about it for years, because Mom had known about it. Linda had confided in Mom during the worst of it, when Brad had blown through their savings on online poker and sports betting. They'd refinanced their house twice to pay off debts. Linda had gone back to work part-time, though she never admitted why. The ring theft suddenly made perfect sense. Linda wasn't just being greedy, she was desperate. And desperate people make mistakes. I hired a private investigator to document Brad's current gambling habits. It didn't take long to find evidence. He was back to online poker, spending thousands of dollars that he didn't have. The money from Mom's estate wasn't going toward their kids' education or their mortgage. It was feeding Brad's addiction. But that was just the ammunition. The real weapon was Linda's own social media presence. I started documenting every lie Linda posted online. Every "blessed to have inherited my mother-in-law's beautiful jewelry" post. Every "grateful for unexpected financial blessings during this difficult time" update. Every photograph of Mom's possessions was displayed in Linda's house, as if they'd always belonged there. I watched Linda's online narrative carefully, waiting for the right moment to expose the truth behind her perfect facade. The moment came when Linda posted a long, emotional tribute to Mom on what would have been Mom's 75th birthday. "Missing my beautiful mother-in-law today. She was like a real mother to me, and I'm so grateful she trusted me with her most precious possessions. I know she's watching over our family and would be proud of how we're honoring her memory. The jewelry she left me will be passed down to my daughters someday, continuing her legacy of strong women. #blessed, #family, #inheritance. The post had dozens of likes and comments from friends and family members who didn't know the truth. People praising Linda for being such a devoted daughter-in-law, such a caring person, such a good steward of Mom's memory. That's when I made my move. I created a detailed timeline of everything Linda had done, with photographs, receipts, and bank records. I organized it all into a clear, factual presentation that told the story of how Linda had systematically robbed our dying mother and then lied about it online to gain sympathy and praise. But I didn't post it on social media. That would have been too easy, and Linda would have been able to delete comments and control the narrative. Instead, I printed everything out and mailed copies to every single person who had liked or commented on Linda's tribute post. Family members, friends, neighbors, parents from her kids' school, and members of her church. Everyone who thought Linda was such a wonderful person got a manila envelope with the complete truth. I included a cover letter that was calm, factual, and devastating. Dear friends and family of Linda Morrison, you recently responded to Linda's social media tribute to our mother, Margaret Chen. I wanted to share some additional information about Linda's relationship with our mother during her final months. The enclosed documents show that Linda systematically stole from our dying mother, manipulated her into changing her will while she was heavily medicated, and then lied about these actions on social media to gain sympathy and praise. The jewelry she inherited was actually stolen from our mother's bedroom and sold on eBay before the funeral. The financial blessings were money Linda took from our mother's accounts without permission. The trust our mother supposedly placed in Linda was actually confusion caused by pain medication and grief. I'm sharing this information not to cause drama, but because I believe people deserve to know the truth about someone they've been praising and supporting. Our mother worked her entire life to provide for her daughters, and she deserved better than to be robbed and lied about after her death. If you have any questions about these documents, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Sarah Chen. I mailed 63 envelopes on a Tuesday morning. By Thursday evening, Linda's phone was ringing constantly. Linda showed up at my house Friday night. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her perfect hair was messy, her makeup was smeared, and she was shaking with rage. "How could you do this to me?" she screamed as soon as I opened the door. "How could you humiliate me like this?" I stayed calm, keeping my voice level. "The same way you stole from our dying mother, I guess." Her voice cracked with desperation. "I didn't steal anything. Everything I did was legal." Legal doesn't mean right, Linda. And lying about it on social media definitely isn't right. You've destroyed my reputation. The kids are asking questions. Brad's family is calling me a thief. People at church won't even look at me. I felt no sympathy for her tears. Good. Maybe now you understand how it felt to find out my sister was robbing our mother while I was taking care of her. Linda collapsed into one of my patio chairs and started crying. Not the pretty crying she did at Mom's funeral for show, but ugly, desperate sobbing. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under," she said between sobs. "Brad's gambling is out of control again. We're behind on everything. The kids need so much. I saw an opportunity and I took it." "You saw an opportunity to steal from your dying mother. She wasn't going to need any of it. She was already gone, Sarah." In her mind, she was already gone. She was lucid enough to tell me to take care of her ring. She knew what you were doing. Linda looked up at me with genuine surprise. She said that. Her last words to me were about not letting anyone tell me the ring wasn't important. She was trying to warn me about you. The truth of this seemed to hit Linda like a physical blow. She put her head in her hands and cried harder. "I can't undo what I did," she said finally, her voice barely audible. "What do you want from me?" I had been planning this moment for weeks. "I want Mom's ring back. I want every piece of jewelry and every item you stole returned or replaced. I want you to pay back every dollar you took from her accounts. And I want you to post a public apology on social media telling the truth about what you did." She looked up at me in horror. "I can't do that. It would ruin everything." "You already ruined everything. I'm just giving you a chance to make it right instead of having me take you to court for elder abuse." Linda was quiet for a long time. Then she looked up at me with something I'd never seen in her eyes before. Genuine fear. "If I do all that, will you forgive me?" I thought about Mom twisting her ring when she was worried, about the promises she'd made me, about the trust Linda had violated when Mom was most vulnerable. "No," I said quietly. "I don't think I will." That was 8 months ago. Linda did everything I asked for. She returned Mom's ring. She had to buy it back from the person who'd won the eBay auction for $1,200. She replaced the jewelry she'd pawned, paid back the money she'd taken from Mom's accounts, and posted a public apology that was forwarded so many times it reached people I'd never heard of. Her marriage didn't survive. Brad's gambling problem became public knowledge during the whole mess, and Linda couldn't handle the shame of everyone knowing their perfect life was a lie. They're divorced now, selling the house, splitting custody of the kids. Linda moved across the country to live with our aunt in Oregon. She sends me cards on holidays that I don't respond to. She's tried calling a few times, but I don't answer. I don't think I ever will. I wear Mom's ring every day now on my right hand. It reminds me of her strength, her sacrifice, and her love. But it also reminds me that sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones you most need protection from. People ask me if I feel bad about destroying Linda's life, if I think I went too far, if I regret exposing her so publicly. The answer is no. Linda made her choices when she decided to steal from our dying mother. I just made sure there were consequences for those choices. I sleep well at night knowing Mom's ring is safe, knowing her memory is protected, and knowing Linda can never hurt anyone in our family again. That's my story. How my sister's greed during our mother's final days led to the destruction of her perfect life. If this story resonates with you, if you've dealt with family members who put money before love, let me know in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between family peace and family justice? Hit that like button if you believe some betrayals are unforgivable, and subscribe for more true stories about the price we pay for trusting the wrong people. Because, unfortunately, sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones who are supposed to love us most. Thanks for listening, and remember, document everything, trust your instincts, and never let anyone convince you that family loyalty means accepting abuse.